Welcome back to the show, people. Wow. So I've been watching this one from the sidelines, and I usually don't get involved in all this drama. But Jon Anik is talking about the toxicity of the UFC fan base and hinting at him kind of leaving from the sport. And yes, surely the world is changing, but I think Anik, excuse me, needs to stay because one, even though I don't always agree with the commentary live on UFC, right? Everyone likes to turn off the commentary and hear the sound of their own voice. I still like hearing those guys. I might not always agree with them, but it brings the experience a little bit more. I don't think I could see UFC without Joe Rogan or Jon Anik at all at this point, even if I agree with them or disagree on certain things. But Jon Anik, I think what he's talking about kind of rings a nerve of which I've always been a fan of, and is the human condition, whether you're in the UFC crowds or you're not in the UFC crowds. And that's that people are just kind of like sore losers. Now, if you want to talk about how that decision should have gone to Sean Strickland, you know what? Go ahead. I actually have no problem with you having that argument because I do think that fight could have gone either way. Am I surprised that Duplessis got the decision a little bit, but I can see the argument that Duplessis did enough to win that title. He had more takedowns. He diversified his game more. It's not a jab contest. It's mixed martial arts. If it was a boxing match, then I for sure would see that as a robbery. But some people get behind these fighters and cope when they lose, almost like they're living vicariously through these guys as soon as they step into the octagon. I'm just supporting them. If they lose, hey, they lose. But the amount of UFC fans I have had conversations with who have claimed that the fights are now rigged because it didn't go the way they wanted. I remember when I was watching Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev, that fight, and I was telling everybody I think that Oliveira is going to be in for a shock because Islam is another animal. His style of sambo is just kind of hard, and his striking super underrated. So he might not have faced anyone in the top five, but let me tell you that he is definitely a force to be reckoned with. And especially Volkanovski put him on skates, and then he came back and did that thing against Volkanovski, and then even more cope from the Volkanovski fans because a lot of people just wanted to see Islam fail. I don't like seeing Islam fail. I'm a huge Islam Makhachev fan. Now, if he ever actually legitimately takes a straight up like KO loss, I'll accept it. He's not invincible, but there's a reason he's got that belt. But the other people, like going back to the Charles Oliveira fight, I remember when that stuff went down because this one person who was on the same jiu-jitsu team that I was at the time was coping super hard, and it's like messaging me up saying, oh, did Charles Oliveira just lose? And I said, I told you. No one believed me. Sorry. I mean, I had Islam winning that fight. But then claiming that, nope, the fight's rigged, not wanting to hear any... Like, that's basically how UFC fans have evolved at this point. Even though, like, UFC has always been just kind of about violence, like, a lot of your typical UFC fans don't care about the arts of the fighting styles. They're not there to understand and pick apart their fighting styles and see what they can do, or is Muay Thai better than Jiu-Jitsu? They just want to see people get punched in the face. That's why people still criticize wrestlers in the UFC because it's quote-unquote too boring. A 5-round wrestling match is just too predictable and too boring. And I get it. Seeing some guy get pinned against the cage for 25 minutes, unless they're getting thrown around, isn't very exciting to watch. Now, when Rory McDonald was throwing around Nate Diaz, that was an interesting wrestling match. Let me tell you that. That suplex city that he hit Nate Diaz with was crazy. But you know what? I actually liked it. But at the same time, when someone's fighter loses, they are always going to to be jaded about it now, and especially with the social media TikTok age of people just being extreme narcissists and not hearing anything except the sound of their own voice. I can tell it already just at my day job when I'm helping people who I'm fixing their cars for, right? It's just like you could already tell midway through the thing when I'm trying to give them advice on how to maintain their car for their own sake, just so I could show that I'm trying to look after their best interest. They're checking out 5 seconds later. You know why they're checking out 5 seconds later? Because they don't care about anything that is going on in their mind. And that's just the way humanity, or at least Western society, is going. Because most people are narcissistic. Most people are selfish. Most people just don't care about anyone but themselves. So when their fighter loses or anything like that, or the way that they go on X and just antagonize people and just talk about things, wish things on people, and then you get banned and then cry about getting banned because you're not supposed to insinuate any sort of violence or hint at it on the internet. I think that's a pretty fair rule, but no one really follows it. Then everyone gets banned and whines about it. That's the way the world works nowadays. It's all just petty. So Jon Anik, if you are listening to this, if the toxicity of the UFC fan base or even the world is getting to you in any way, shape, or form, that's the way most of society is going. And you want to know the best part about that is you don't have to be a part of that. You could spend time with people who see what you see. And then you know what? I just don't talk to 90% of people because I understand most people are in it for themselves and they will just to get $5 or 5 Instagram followers, in my honest opinion. And I mean that as kind of like hyperbole. I don't actually mean make sure. I'm not insinuating any violence, but I'm just saying people are super selfish. That's just the way it is. They don't care. They're going to be petty. Petty is the way of the world going right now. If you were to tell me right now that we are like approaching the biblical end times to where people are just so selfish that I think like the giant reset button on humanity is about to get hit soon, you know what? I would probably believe you. I'd wait to see before that happens. But I believe you because people are so messed up nowadays. And you know what? You can thank social media for that because everyone wants to have a voice. Even this guy. That's my opinion. I don't think he's overreacting, or I don't think he's seeing the wrong thing. In fact, honestly, man, I think his spew right now is pretty honest. But don't retire, man. Keep that job and just let the petty people stew in their petty stuff. Rise above. Be with a logical crowd. Peace out.